jumping right in and breaking down the brutal mathematical realities of early financial choices, drawing straight from our source material. We're going to map out the exact traps that capture your hard-earned cash in your 20s and 30s, and, more importantly, how you can completely dodge them. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this by looking at a tale of two very different futures. Meet Maya and Dylan. Back in 2010, they were roommates starting out at the exact same place. They were both 22, both earning exactly $52,000 a year. But fast forward 15 years, and their lives have diverged drastically. Maya, she just took her dream job for less money, simply because she's already financially free. And Dylan? Well, Dylan's trapped in a service center parking lot at 2 a.m. tapping a credit card to pay for a transmission repair on a matte black truck. So, how do two people with the exact same starting line end up in entirely different universes? It really comes down to a few silent decisions. The source material points out that it all starts with what we call the practice round myth. It's this idea, and so many of us fall for this, that your 20s and 30s are just a financial warm-up. Like, it's a time to be a little reckless before you get serious at 40. But here's the stark reality. Because of compounding, the dollars you touch between 22 and 40 are literally the most powerful dollars you will ever hold in your entire life, period. When these so-called wealth killers eat those early dollars, they aren't just stealing the money you spent today. They're stealing everything that money would have eventually become. So let's look at Section 1, the quiet traps, specifically lifestyle creep and cars. Killer number 1 is lifestyle creep. You get a raise, right? And without even noticing it, that extra money quietly disappears into a slightly nicer apartment, maybe a premium streaming tier, or getting takeout instead of groceries. Nothing dramatic happens. You didn't go blow it all in Vegas. Your lifestyle just kind of naturally expands to swallow that extra income. It is exactly like a goldfish growing to the precise size of its tank. The impact of this is absolutely staggering. According to the data in our source, the national savings rate recently plummeted to about 4%. Think about that. That means the average American is keeping roughly 4 cents out of every dollar they earn. People are earning more money than ever before in history, but because every bump in income gets matched perfectly by a bump in spending, they're saving almost nothing. And this brilliantly illustrates the true cost of that creep. When Maya and Dylan both got a $10,000 raise, they took two completely different paths. Maya invested hers. That's about $830 a month. At a normal 7% return, that single raise grows into more than $1 million by retirement. Dylan's raise, though, it just vanished into his lifestyle. Maybe it went to a nicer couch he forgot he even bought, or a few too many premium food deliveries. The difference isn't just about the spending money, it's realizing that a raise is a massive fork in the road. Which brings us to killer number 2, and honestly, it's the absolute loudest one on the list: cars. The average new car payment in America right now is a staggering $770 a month. Take a second to process that. That is literally a mortgage-sized payment for an asset that drops roughly 20% in value in its very first year. You are financing a machine that is sprinting away from you in value way faster than you can ever pay it down. Let's look at Dylan's choice again. He financed a matte black truck for $770 a month. Maya, on the other hand, bought a totally boring, reliable used car for $300 a month and simply invested the $470 difference at 8% over 30 years. The true cost of Dylan's truck isn't just the $770 a month he hands the dealer. It is the $700,000 difference that Maya generated by investing that gap. That is the enormous wealth his truck payment could have grown into. Moving on to Section 2, the debt amplifiers. We're talking credit cards and missing buffers. Killer number 3 is high-interest credit card debt. And wow, the math trap here is terrifying. The average interest rate on a carried balance is hovering around 22%. If you charge a dinner out to that card and don't pay it down right away, the balance roughly doubles in just 4 years. Right now, the average balance people carry is around $6,700. If you only make the minimum payments on that, it takes over 18 years to clear. 18 years. You could literally still be paying for tonight's dinner when your future kid is in high school. And there's a much sneakier, modern version of this hunting Gen Z right now: buy now, pay later apps. Our source highlights a phenomenon called loan stacking. This is where users have multiple installment plans running all at the same time, buying everyday things like groceries and splitting them into 4 easy payments. It makes spending feel a lot less real and completely hides your total debt. It's essentially debt wearing a cheerful costume, and it trapped Dylan into having absolutely no idea how much he actually owed. But what pushes people into these debt traps in the first place? Well, that's killer number 5, the missing buffer. Only 47% of Americans can cover a $1,000 emergency out of their savings. Without this critical buffer, every single small disaster, like a flat tire or a surprise ER visit, gets routed straight onto a 22% interest credit card, detonating your financial future just to survive the month. Section 3, the time thieves, waiting and fidgeting. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the sheer cost of just waiting is staggering. Maya started investing $500 a month at age 25. Dylan invested the exact same amount, $500 a month, but he waited until age 35 to start. Just because Dylan started the clock a decade late, it cost him roughly $700,000 by age 65. He didn't invest half as much as Maya. He just lost the most critical component, time. Compounding is literally the one place where showing up early and being lazy absolutely beats showing up late and trying hard. And speaking of leaving money on the table, 1 in 4 people miss out on their full employer 401k match. You guys, that is an instant, guaranteed return that doesn't exist anywhere else in the universe. Ignoring this is the equivalent of walking away from roughly $3,000 of absolutely free money every single year. Over the course of a standard career, you're abandoning around $300,000. No way you want to do that. And killer number 6 is ego. Even when people do invest, they often try to be way too clever. Over 20 years, the market returned about 10% annually, but the average investor, they earned just 9.2%. Why? Because of fidgeting. They panic sell when a headline looks scary, and then they jump back in way too late. On a $100,000 investment over 20 years, that ego-driven fidgeting cost the average investor $120,000, all just for the fleeting privilege of feeling clever on a Tuesday. Which brings us to Section 4, the verdict, choosing your clock. So the crucial point is that these aren't actually 6 completely separate problems. Whether it's lifestyle creep, financing a depreciating car, credit card debt, waiting to invest, skipping an emergency fund, or overtrading, they are all really just one single problem wearing different outfits. They're all mechanisms explicitly designed to redirect your most valuable, time-rich dollars away from your future and towards somebody else's. Now look, if you recognize yourself in any of these traps, please do not feel stupid. The source material is super clear about this. The entire financial ecosystem is literally incentivized against you building boring, quiet wealth. The system was never designed to be survived on instinct alone. Dealerships make their money on long loans, credit card companies feast on the balances you carry, and apps thrive on your impulse. You were never meant to fight all of this alone without a map. Which leaves us with this final, haunting question. You don't get to choose whether the clock runs. It's running right now. You only get to choose whether it's running for you or against you. So, at 40, will you be standing on a solid foundation or at the bottom of a hole you spent 15 years decorating? Pick one of these 6 killers today and start dodging it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.